Thank you, Erica. Thank you. And hello, everybody. Such a pleasure to be here tonight. And I get the best job because I get to introduce our charity finalists to you and hold a short Q&A with them afterwards. Let's get started. So our first presentation tonight is from Sister System. Sister System's mission is to bridge the gap between care-affected girls and mainstream society by working alongside them to ensure they have the same opportunities as everybody else at school, at home, at work, and within our communities.
Sister System exists to bridge the gap between care-affected girls and young women and mainstream society. We do this by providing educational, mentoring, empowerment programs for girls and young women between the ages of 13 and 24. We're based in Haringey in North London, and we work with around 120 to 200 girls and young women every year. We are the only organisation in London who offer this unique service to these incredible young women.
The programmes help them raise their mental wellness, enable a life free from abuse and forge pathways to education, training and employment. We provide nationally accredited qualifications, peer and therapeutic mentoring, resilience building workshops, physical and mental well-being sessions, and a community of sisters and positive peer relationships.
It helped me a lot academically. They also help with things like doing CVs, getting job applications, and becoming a mentor.
Being independent, but at the same time, not to carry your baggages or your worry by yourself.
The way that we work is big sisters who are graduates from our programmes become paid co-curators, co-facilitators and peer mentors to younger girls.
Sister System has helped me help myself, so I want to help other girls help themselves. I want to show them that it's not about where you come from, you can have a good life for yourself.
It's made a lot of big difference within my own mental health. It's also helped me a lot with confidence and to be able to share my own story to other people. It's just helping me to find who I am.
Sister System is innovative and unique because it is founded and run by women who have gone on the same journey as them.
I was that young girl. Many of us here were that young girl, come from very unfortunate backgrounds, very unfortunate circumstances.
From personal experience, being in care, you don't feel like a lot of people actually have you, but with Sister System, I know they can actually provide results. I don't feel like my experience is kind of useless, and I feel heard and seen, and I know that would mean a lot to other young girls.
When COVID-19 came around, we saw a massive increase in need and referrals into Sister System. We went from working with 30 girls in a year up to 120. That was shortly followed by the cost of living crisis, which meant that we're seeing the girls and young women that we work with returning into violent and abusive relationships to meet their basic needs. This tells us that we're in urgent need of a safeguarding lead. Impact 100's funding will enable us to be able to safeguard them and provide their basic needs.
Sister System was created as a new model and a new system and way of working with girls and young women who are the children of the state, but yet the corporate parenting model is failing them. And we also know from having delivered our programs for the past 5 years that Sister System's model does work.
Our impact data shows 80% of the girls and young women that we work with increase their understanding of healthy relationships to enable a life free from abuse. 91% raise their mental well-being, and 75% of girls and women over 18 have forged pathways to further education, training and employment.
These girls really appreciate it. They do the work, they put in the effort. Without places like us, I think, where would these young people be?
We are like a family. We take care of each other. It makes me feel like I am not alone anymore. I feel like very happy and connected to my society.
What we do, I think it's just so needed, you know.
This funding is absolutely a game changer for Sister System, and also for reaching our vision and mission, which is that every care affected girl in London has the opportunity to take part in one of our programmes and join our ever-growing community.
Thank you very much. That was an amazing video from Sister System showing their extraordinary work with marginalised girls. I'm just waiting for Okella to join me on the virtual stage. Ah, there she is. Hello, Okella.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you so much for coming tonight, and thank you for that brilliant video, which shows what extraordinary work you're doing with some amazing women and girls in London. Just a few questions to kind of give you an opportunity to tell us some more. So could you, you touched on in the video how you have grown quite dramatically in the last few years, but you have bigger plans. How do you see that growth strategy developing over the next few years?
Absolutely. So I think that in our last year, we've had the opportunity to pause and reflect and consolidate after being in a very reactive place across COVID and the pandemic. And as such, we're beginning to work on a 3 to 5 year strategy, which has 5 strands to it. So focus on reaching more girls, our programme delivery, refining our working model and addressing our people, so any internal capacity issues, and strengthening our stakeholder relationships, and then entering into boroughs. And so without going into too much detail, within each of those headings, there is a huge amount of operational detail whereby we are managing our growth and ensuring that the work that we're doing is sustainable and that it is safe. So that as we scale up borough on borough, in the last 3 years, we have gone into 1 additional borough every year, ensuring that as we grow, every care affected girl within that borough is aware of Sister System and can take part in one of our programmes, as I said in that short video. Once we have achieved our pan-London aim, with always that mindful managed growth, as you guys heard, our community are amongst the most vulnerable girls and young women in our capital, and safeguarding them and safeguarding my team of incredible practitioners is absolutely central to sustainable growth for us. So once we have achieved that in the next 3 years, and I think at this point, for some of us, we're aware of an organisation called Impetus Test, and we've just joined their portfolio, and they will be working with us under the Connect Fund for the next 2 years to ensure that our strategy, our pipeline, our operational plan is all in line with our ambition, which essentially, Amelia, is to be able to meet those needs without compromising on quality. And ultimately, then in the years 4 and 5, we will be seeking to be a national provision through our online learning platform, through the research that we're doing with our UCL partners, to be able to really make sure that we are going into places that need us the most, and we are prioritising those areas of our work, and that we can continue to build on the ecosystem that we have in place. And that means that this cycle that we go on every year, from reaching more girls to looking internally to make sure that we are robust and ready, begins from ensuring that our governance is robust, that our people are well, and that our systems and processes are fit and ready to deal with the demand that we are still seeing day on day for services that we provide. So that's the kind of, you know, headline
whistle stop
our plan is, but we do have a 5-year strategy that I am developing in a bit more detail with our partners at Impetus, who are the kind of one of the experts in the sector that we sit in ensuring that charities can have a national reach. And ultimately, what that will do is put us in a place where we hope that local authorities are already working with us, local government is working with us, they're championing our model. But essentially what we need to do is be part of the corporate parenting offer for these girls and young women. It needs to be part of the statutory offer for them. So our North Star is to ensure that our way of working enables us to have a seat at that table and have discussions with those policymakers and help them to think about how our demonstrated way of working should form part of the corporate parenting model for these young women.
And Okela, can I ask you, what, after the girls have, if you like, graduated from the Sister System program, or if they and indeed have become big sisters themselves, what happens to them? How, you know, where are they going? What are they doing?
So our most recent impact data tells us that of all of the girls that we work with, about 80% of them move on and actually forge pathways into further education and or employment. But before that happens, we typically tend to work with our sisters on a programme for about 18 to 24 months. They tend to go from one programme and then onto another programme. And then, as you said, many of them have then joined us as co-creators, as co-facilitators, and they're then paid members of our team. We currently have 2 of our big sisters on our board. So they're my boss, they're all of our bosses, which I think is quite right.
Yes.
And many of them stay within our community having graduated, even if that is just to attend our events. We run events all through the year, which is about building on that connection and embedding that sense of family amongst these girls. We also are just formalising our youth advisory board, and that's another exit outcome for the girls and young women that we work with, and that's something else that came from us, as we always do, sitting and talking with them and asking them what would be next for you, because what we're very aware of is that these girls and young women will soon become mothers. And we're working with the next generation of mothers, and we want to ensure that not just through their adolescent journey, but into early womanhood, they remain part of our network and they can continue to get support from us.
Yes, wonderful. I mean, I've heard a lot about the kind of the care cliff, as it were, and it sounds as though you are making sure that doesn't happen to the
absolutely.
girls,
we are providing a bridge, and it's something that I have conversations with heads of services, particularly in Haringey, children, social care and young adult service. And as a statutory service, they are acutely aware of the critical support that Sister System provides at that really, really crucial time in a care leader's journey, but also in her journey as a woman.
Yes, of course, of course. I'm afraid I would like to talk to you all night, but I'm not allowed to. So I'm going to have to finish there, but I have no doubt that Sister System is going to go from strength to strength. And thank you so much for joining us tonight and telling us all more about your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care now.
Take care, bye-bye.
So our next presentation today is from Rights of Women. The mission of Rights of Women is to advise, educate and empower women by firstly providing women with free confidential legal advice from specialist women solicitors and barristers. By number 2, enabling women to understand and benefit from their legal rights through accessible and timely training and publications. And finally, by campaigning to ensure that women's voices are heard and law and policy meets all women's needs.
Rights of Women is a unique frontline women's legal rights charity working across England and Wales. Our staff team of 15 women lawyers and 55 on our volunteer team advise over 3,500 women every single year. Our focus is women who are experiencing or at risk of violence against women and girls. All women should be entitled to full protection through the law. However, the reality is that's not what happens. The systems that are there to protect them often fail to do so. Countless women that we speak to have faced hostility and suspicion when they sought protection and safety. Many of them are disbelieved, they are turned away, they can find it very difficult to access any help at all, they can be given incorrect advice. And our charity exists to provide women with advice to escape from those situations.
Most of the women that call our advice lines can't afford a lawyer. I don't think people realise how bewildering the law and the courts can be until they are involved in a legal dispute. And that's amplified for survivors of domestic abuse. Imagine having experienced years of domestic abuse and coercive and controlling behaviour. Imagine having to face your abuser in court and their lawyer when you don't know the law and you don't understand how the courts work. I wish I could describe to you the sheer relief that I hear from women when they tell me how grateful they are having spoken to a qualified lawyer, because they're not able to get that advice from elsewhere.
Migrant women can experience perpetrators using their immigration status against them. Perpetrators can often threaten to have them removed, remove the children from their care, make them homeless, and that makes women feel trapped, and they just feel as if they need to remain with the perpetrators indefinitely. And so it's so important that we actually give them advice and we say to them, look, there is a way out of this situation.
We offer them a confidential space. For some of the women, it's the first time that they've been believed, they've been heard. They really value the fact that they're talking to an expert. A lot of women don't come forward about sexual harassment. They end up just leaving their jobs or their careers because they don't feel like they have the ability to fight the case. And you'd be amazed what the difference can make in a 30-minute, 45-minute call. Their level of understanding and their confidence and their feeling of empowerment is just completely transformed.
The difference that legal advice makes to a woman's situation can be being able to escape an abusive situation, being able to move on with her life, being able to protect her and her children.
The advice that we provide saves lives. When we are helping women leave abusive relationships, those are men who potentially could have killed them. The support that they receive at that point of trying to leave is crucial.
Just hearing your voice on the phone helps me know what I want to do going forward. I have so much fight in me.
I'm 67 and you have given me the confidence to do this. It is the fear. Nobody expects to get divorced at 67. I'm really grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Just thank you. It is so useful to get some advice. Rape victims get no legal advice at all. It feels like you're blindfolded in court and don't know what's going to be thrown at you.
I've gone from feeling a bit hopeless to more empowered. Kind of know what I can do and I have a plan. Thank you so much for everything and taking the time to give me all of this information and making me feel empowered.
You've probably saved me from mental breakdown. You've been so kind. This call is life-saving.
The support from Impact 100 would mean that we can reach more women with our advice, that we can train more volunteers, and that we can also work with others to challenge laws and improve policies. There is such a high demand for the work that we are doing, and it's so vital. Your support will really, really make a difference in women's lives.
What a extraordinary organisation and dealing with such a difficult situation that could potentially affect any one of us. Welcome, Estelle, to the stage, as it were. Thank you so much for your time tonight. The voices, particularly at the end, were so haunting, but equally it's such a positive story as well, which is extraordinary. So thank you for that. I wanted to talk a little bit more about your campaigning, because you mentioned at the end that you this is a big area of your work. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and ultimately why you think this is important, why you're taken seriously, and ultimately what you're trying to achieve through the campaigning.
Oh, thank you very much, Anila, and thank you so much for having us. It's such a pleasure to be here tonight. In the campaign work that you were talking about, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the reasons that we campaign, some of the issues that we campaign on, and the kind of achievements that we reach through that. So I think just to set the context, the reasons that we campaign, I mean, obviously the wider context is that women are still unequal in society, that we don't have access to equal rights. And this comes through the legal justice system and impacts at every level. But very specifically in relation to violence against women and girls, it means that laws are not sufficient to protect women, that the court process is insufficient, and it re-traumatizes women as they go through these processes. So it's really important that we have that focus. It's also really important, as our organisation is really unique. We're the only frontline women's organisation providing this kind of legal advice across England and Wales. So we've got this unique insight into women's legal justice needs, and I think it's our duty to utilise that in every way that we can to make sure that what we hear reaches the ears of those in power, and that we make recommendations and campaign for change, so that we can create wider change and actually address the root causes of that inequality and violence against women and girls. We campaign on a lot of different issues, but I'd say really centrally the issue that kind of brings everything together is around women's access to legal support. That, I think, is what we recognise, that women need access to a specialist lawyer at those really difficult times in their lives, and if they don't have it, then the impacts can be really devastating. So what we do is we campaign around that, because we recognise every woman has the right to safety and to be able to make choices in their life that can make themselves and their children safe. We campaign across all the different legal areas that we work. So at any given time, we'll be working and we'll be campaigning for better protections, for example, in relation to sexual harassment in the workplace, in relation to migrant women who are experiencing abuse and escaping an abusive partner, and in relation to courts, for example, the family courts. We know the family courts have got a long way to go and need to reform. They need to be transformed in relation to the way that they treat victims of abuse, because they're not trauma reformed in their approach. So I'll just give you one example of something I think is really significant. We worked a campaign we ran some years ago that we started building evidence, because we could see that there was a gap in the law. We built evidence over 3 years with the survivors we work with other organisations. We coordinated work, and then we took the government to court, and I'm so proud to say that we won. And we won in 2018. The law was changed, and it's just been fantastic seeing what's happened as a result of that. That meant that more women survivors of domestic abuse can get access to legal support if they're facing domestic abuse and they're in the process of separation and trying to arrange the arrangements around their children. And what we've seen is a 300% increase of women across England and Wales who are now accessing that legal support. So it's gone from 3,000 to 9,000 women a year, and I think that's just a terrific example of what we can achieve with our work.
The power of women, amazing. And you also talk a lot about volunteers, and obviously you're a volunteer, if you like, run organisation. Can you talk us about who are the volunteers, and why do they get involved, and why have they chosen? How do you find them, and how do they find you?
Well, okay, we're very lucky. We engage volunteers really, really well in the organisation, and they are the strength of the organisation. I think it's a real asset to our work, and it's an asset to anybody that works with us or supports us through funding as well. I mean, we have, I think it speaks to the cause that we're involved in, but also the longevity of the organisation. We've drawn together a very wide, diverse community of volunteers around us. Some are lawyers, and others bring expertise in other areas. A particularly significant group within our volunteering is our experts by experience. They call themselves Voices of Women panel, and they are experts by experience of the legal justice system, of violence against women and girls, and they help steer and guide our work. They give us advice on how to make our work more accessible so that more women can reach us, and they also work with us so that we can make those kind of powerful arguments to decision makers, so that they hear the reality of women's lives and that they can base their decisions based on that. So they are very central to our work. Also, our team of women lawyers. So these are women lawyers that are current practicing lawyers. They volunteer for us on our advice line. We've got a team of 58 lawyers at the moment. And because we're now working remotely, we can expand that. We have more coming through, but certainly this is something that we really, really want to invest in further as we go forward, because we've got a huge demand that we need to meet in our work. And
As you can see from the videos, every single one of those calls has the power to transform a life and to save a life. And we're currently reaching 3,000 to 3,500 women a year, but there are many more that need our services as well.
Yeah, it was very powerful, the life-saving message there. I think it's not to be underestimated, obviously.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Estelle. That was an extraordinary presentation, and I really enjoyed talking to you and learning a little bit more about rights of women.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our final presentation today is from Clean Break. Clean Break's mission is to contribute to building women's skills, creativity and well-being using theatre practice, whilst also producing groundbreaking plays which put women's voices at its heart and create lasting change by challenging injustice both within and beyond the criminal justice service.
Clean Break is a women's theatre company founded 44 years ago by two pioneering women who met in prison and believed in the transformational power of theatre to change lives. Our vision is of a society where women are able to achieve their full potential, free from criminalisation.
We work with over 250 women each year across our programmes. Our outreach work in prisons and women's centres in the community, our members programme at our studios in Kentish Town and on stages and theatres across the country.
At the heart of our work are our members, women who have been in prison or on probation, or women with drug and alcohol and mental health issues who are at risk.
A lot of us are very damaged when we come in. I was signed to a record label and I was dropped from that record label. So I went into a depression and I had some friends who kind of introduced me to drugs, and I spiraled downhill really quickly.
I'd making bad choices and ended up in situations where it was dangerous for myself.
Women that are lost, that society don't really care about. That's what you feel like you've missed your chance and you've messed up. Clean Break is a second chance.
Our members are provided with one-to-one support, access to therapy, signposting and referring to services beyond our expertise, and help to navigate challenging systems.
So I love the way that it was just open doors. Come in whenever you need to chat. I got a condition whilst I was in prison and I was struggling with the GP, and I remember them helping me with a letter. So if they hadn't helped me at that starting point, I don't know if I would have been where I am now.
We also provide food, including a hot lunch.
She was like, yeah, we'll pay your travel, we'll pay your childcare. And without that, I wouldn't have been able to come.
We provide hardship funds, advice surgeries in partnership with other organisations, for example, legal and financial advice, and career opportunities for progression beyond Clean Break.
I've actually been able to, think about my future and what it is I want in life, and to actually take action into making it happen. Before Clean Break, I think maybe there could have been a time where my mum might have got that phone call. Clean Break has saved my life.
Creativity and theatre is such a powerful tool.
If it wasn't for Clean Break, I wouldn't be where I am today. This is where I got my mojo back. This is where I blossomed.
I came here very traumatised and broken, lost, and it's given me so much, honestly. It's transformed my life. And I love a lot of these women here, and I know I'm loved too. And that is just lovely.
Clean Break to me is family.
When you step in, it makes you feel like you're part of something.
It's a community of women built for change.
Clean Break is, I think, really, really special. And I'm not just saying that, I mean it because I've lived it.
At the moment, we're experiencing the cost of living crisis. We still have the effects of the pandemic, and we have a reduction in public sector services. This is all stretching our resources, reducing our income and increasing our costs, and our services are needed more than ever. Funding from Impact 100 would hugely support all aspects of our work, enabling us to continue to offer vital support and creative opportunities to the women we work with.
The collective power of Impact 100 makes the support that they offer so much more meaningful.
Clean Break is a safe haven for women. And I think every woman should have the chance to feel safe
I want it to reach more women. It needs everything that you can chuck at it, basically, because it's real.
We need all the help we can get so that we can help change the lives of other women just like myself, so that they can have hope and see a better future for their lives.
I just was so struck all the way through that, how aptly named Clean Break is, and all the women telling us just how, you know, what a difference you make. So thank you, Anna, for that and for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
As the artistic director, it would be great to hear from you why you think the power of theatre is such a powerful tool to help these women.
Absolutely. So participating in theatre is incredibly liberating, particularly for women who've been denied their voice, for women who have been judged for their past trauma, for their experiences, for what they may have done. And the opportunity to participate with other women in a really safe, well-held, trauma-informed space and to be creative enables women to build community, to have time and space to heal from past trauma, and to build really, really important life skills, communication skills, presentation, performance, to build confidence, to build their self-esteem, and to improve well-being. Creativity is at the heart of that. And there's also something really important about being seen and being heard, that you'll have heard reflected in all the stories that we've heard this evening. And theatre creates that opportunity. It's a platform, it's a stage for women's voices to be heard, for women to be seen and to be believed. It's a space where women can rehearse different ways of being, different futures, and imagine different futures for themselves. And fundamentally, something that I think is at the heart of it is that it's a space to belong. It's a space to really connect with our humanity and to belong. And that's something that everyone needs, and particularly the women that we work with.
I'm interested, when the women first come to Clean Break, presumably many of them have not had any theatre experience, or how do you make that happen? I mean, obviously some presumably are more open to it than others, but
yeah, absolutely. So it's a really careful and well kind of honed journey that we start with where every woman is at, and we've created a programme at our centre in Kentish Town in northwest London where women can engage in a range of different starting points that are bespoke to them. So there's introductory, there's health and well-being, there's theatre making for those who feel that they have that kind of some sense of that. There's just a creative space which has no kind of performance, but is about tapping into their creativity. And then there's writing and playwriting, which can be a much more individual activity. And women can start at the beginning in any one of those pathways and cross over and grow and develop and find their way through. It's incredible over the many years that I've been with the organisation of seeing women come initially very, very coming for some structure, coming for some support, coming because it's a women-only safe space and they've been referred and there's a lot of healing that they need, and finding an immense capacity in themselves and skill base that just enables them, as was said in the video, to really blossom. And I've seen that time and time again, and each time it's just it's humbling, and it reminds me just how important our space is for particularly for women who have been kind of really marginalised and criminalised by their experiences.
You've recently had a play on at the National, which unfortunately I wasn't able to see, but some of my colleagues saw it and were raving about it. How important do you think having plays on that kind of stage, excuse the pun, is helpful in terms of influencing policy changes?
Our plays, our model is one which is working directly with women and speaking directly to the public and to audiences and to policymakers. And it's a model that we know really, really works and creates impact. The stories that the plays, we take our plays not just to theatres. Dixon and Daughters, the play you're referring to, was seen by 17,000 people at the National Theatre. That's a huge number of people to really deepen their understanding of some of the experiences of women leaving prison, and kind of really expose some of the trauma that sits beneath that, and to really deepen understanding and build compassion. And that's what we're working towards. But it's not just the National Theatre where we take our work. We take our work to universities, to conferences, to criminal justice settings, to magistrates, to judges. We've produced work and performed plays in the House of Lords, and reaching all those audiences. And in partnership with our sister organisations, we really use our plays as a platform to amplify the struggles that our women are facing, to take part in campaigns to change things like the use of prison for women who are ultimately coping with trauma that they've experienced through their lives, and to find alternatives that we know exist in women's centres, and to really advocate for those alternatives and for imagining different futures. And what the plays do, which information and statistics I really believe can't do, is connect on a human level, connect on an emotional level, and to really build a compassionate, humane society, and to change the narrative. Our plays are about changing the narrative and disrupting the really limiting and negative stereotypes that exist out there about women who have experienced the criminal justice system. And we see that through the dialogue that we're able to engage in with our audiences, through our post-show discussions and through our campaigning voice as well. So it feels vital that our plays, which also have our members in them. So it's kind of not on behalf of, it's with and involving. And that seems a really essential part of our change-making practice.
No, it's not acting, is it? It's real, but using a very powerful device. Thank you, Anna. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing more information about Clean Break.
Thank you.
Good night for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that concludes our charity presentations for tonight. I don't know quite how any one of us is going to make a choice, given they're such extraordinary organisations and doing such different but important work. So thank you to all of them, and I will hand back to Lainey now. Thank you, Lainey.